Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Kelsey Kenry, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table, and today I'm bringing you behind the scenes. We have a ton of change happening. We have a ton of change in my life specifically, and I think it's really important because I don't think enough people are give you the details of what's really happening. And we're curious people. A lot of the conversations that I have are how do you do this? Or when you're doing that, what happens when you do this? And so I have been posting a bit. If you have not realized this, I have a new Instagram page. I want to talk about that for a second. So I'm going to talk about a few things here. I'm going to talk about changes in business, why I've made them, maybe some stuff that people wouldn't even tell you. I'm going to tell you about changes in our personal life, moving and homeschooling, and really just peel back the curtain for you guys in this episode because I am a person behind this business, behind this podcast, behind my leadership and all of my advising and all of the guidance that I give and have been giving for 15 years. I'm a person and it's a lot of moving parts. And so I want to share the changes and kind of how I'm navigating it and how I'm still prioritizing myself and paying attention to my stress and my overwhelm and all of those things. So welcome back. Thank you for being here. And my hope for you in this episode is that you gain a lot of insights about the reality of what happens when you're trying to create not just a business that you love, but a life you love too. Let's start with the personal stuff. So, the biggest change that we have going on right now is we are moving from Florida to Texas. And here's why. I was born and raised in Texas. I moved to Florida in 2003. So I have been here for a long time. And I have always wanted to move back to Texas. I always felt like Texas was home. Florida is beautiful. Florida is, sunshine basically year round. Yes, we get hurricanes, but luckily in 2025, we didn't get two back-to-back ones like we did in 2024. Nothing is wrong with Florida. We are not moving away from Florida because anything is wrong here. We're moving back to Texas because when I think about the life that I want to live, that life includes being close to family and having a social circle of people who are like-minded. And if I'm being honest, in this area that we are currently in, so if you're not familiar with Sarasota, Bradenton, we're an hour south of Tampa. There's a lot of people move here when they're retired. And while there's been a huge amount of growth in this area during the pandemic, especially, I have had a difficult time creating friendships here locally. Number one, because I've been in this cove of having, 3 kids in 5 years and all of that. But also I think that there's a lot of the networking and stuff here is not for women who are as established, I would say. And so in the established business women here are incredible. And I do have some really great friendships here and really great referral partners and things like that. So I think it's just one of the reasons why we're moving is because I've always wanted to move back to Texas. Second to that, all of my family is there. My mom is currently here. She's also moving back to Texas. My brother is there. My dad is there. My sister is there. My other sister is in Missouri, which is 6 hours away. And I want to be closer to them. I'm getting older. I'm going to be 39 this year. And I think as you get older, you just kind of realize what's really important. And that's a very big reason, right? I have 3 kids that I want to grow up with family. And so family is the biggest part. But second to that, I think that there will be more relationships. The entrepreneurship scene is bigger there. It's just a bigger place in general, right? Dallas-Fort Worth area is where we're looking. And so I think there's going to be more opportunity to gain friendships, business opportunities. My family runs a family business that is in Texas and Oklahoma. And I also travel. Eric and I both travel. He's traveling for wrestling. I'm traveling to go see clients and flying out of Sarasota Airport. Almost always I have to take 2 flights everywhere, which is not a big deal, but it's just all these little things start to add up. And honestly, we've been talking about it for a while and it was kind of always our plan. And I think this year specifically, Eric and I were talking about this morning actually. It was like 2026 is the year that we're just doing the stuff that we always wanted to do. Like Eric went back to wrestling last year, I think, or the year before. And like, he's been getting some of the wrestling matches that were like his dream. So like Eric's been wrestling on and off for like 20 years or something at this point. So it's just the year that we're like, you know what? Why are we talking about this? Like, I think sometimes we get so stuck in the idea of something that we're like, I want this, but it feels really scary to figure it out. Like moving my family across the country, putting our winter break was so stressful, if I'm being honest. Getting our house ready to sell, we did like a bunch of repairs and repainting and stuff just to make the house nice, getting it ready for pictures. It sucked. It was not fun, honestly. And all the showings that we're currently having, we had 10 showings over the course of like 3 days. It's hard. But I think that's the thing is I'm like, are we just going to avoid the hard things forever? Or like, are we going to realize, okay, we really want, like, this is what we want our life to look like. And in order to get there, we're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to do some hard shit. And like, I've said it a million times, but like the greatest stuff usually comes after doing something hard. And I'm not saying that like we need to run ourselves into the ground. I'm not saying that we need to, have high levels of stress all the time. But what I am saying is we need to start asking ourselves like where we're selling ourselves short or where we're settling just because it's like what we've always done. Like there's nothing wrong with our house. There's nothing wrong with Florida. We could stay here and it would be fine. Nothing is actually wrong. But I think a lot of people wait until something's wrong to make a change. And that's the problem is instead we're not just stepping back and being like, you know what? There is so much opportunity for both Eric and I in the business realm. There's so much opportunity for our family. There's so much opportunity for friendships and growth and travel. And like, this is where I feel like is home for me. Why don't we just do it? So that is why we're moving to Texas. We're moving to Texas to be closer to family, to build new friendships. I mean, there's still people that I talk to that I went to school with that, I've never lost touch with. I have old like stepbrothers and sisters. I have like a huge network of friends and family there that I am just desiring those relationships and that closeness. And second to that is homeschooling, right? So currently, it's funny because I posted on social media about like us doing some homeschool trial days. And right now, all 3 of my kids are still in school. Emerson is 4, so she's in 4 half days of preschool. Brooklyn's in 2nd grade. Cam is in 4th grade. Cam is starting to have some difficulties at school because he is very high IQ and he gets bored. And when he's bored, he gets in trouble. That's just what's happening. And the older my kids get and the more, again, that I think about like, how do I want my life to look? Like beyond like this like hustle and sprint and like building that I've been doing for so many years, like what am I doing it all for? And what do I want things to really look like when I stand back and I observe my life? What do I really want? And homeschool is it's interesting because people are like, how are you going to do that? And like do your job? Because truthfully, like I need focus time. I need time away from my kids. But I think what people don't realize is once again, just like moving is people are like, I know that like the public school system is not best for my children, but there's no way that I could like have them home. First of all, you don't have to have them home. There's so many different options. I actually have a homeschool expert that does consulting and builds your curriculum for you coming on the podcast. Keep your ears open for that. She was a client of mine and she's really phenomenal. So anyways, all I'm saying is for us, it's really just about, okay, we have chosen a non-traditional life. Eric and I are both entrepreneurs. And when we think about who we want our children to be as adults, what we want to teach them, the humans that we want them to become, a lot of that skill set and character building is not found in traditional school. Beyond that, the reality is that like none of us like the rushed mornings. It's just, we don't like it. We don't like having to work around like, okay, when can we travel? When is their spring break? Da, 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 da. So it's really just like the freedom of and flexibility of the schedule, the reality of like being able to teach them things that we feel like are going to help them be more successful adults. And also, like, there's so many options now between virtual schools, between homeschool co-ops, right? Like, they don't have to be in your house all the time. And I know that some people may still be like, well, what about the social aspect? I'm like, well, even at this point, because like in the pandemic, there were so many families that turned to homeschooling because they kind of had to, that now your extracurricular activities like jujitsu or dance or music offer like homeschool classes during the day. Because for us, like my kids are in jujitsu right now. So they're at school from 8 till they get home at like 3:30, 3:40. And we opt out of homework already. And so they get like an hour to like have a snack, play, and then we go to extracurriculars. And then they come home and they go straight to bed. So it's just a lot, right? So I think there's two things here that are really important for me to share with you. Number one is like homeschool doesn't have to be just at home. And like that's what we're looking into, especially when we know what city we're actually going to live in. So on the moving front, our house is currently for sale. We've been to Texas. I looked at like 14 houses. None of them we necessarily want to buy right now. There's a lot of stuff that's in the air right now, which is scary, right? There's a lack of certainty. We know our house will sell eventually. We don't know when. We don't know when we're moving. We don't know what city we're moving to, but we are going. And so, once we know that, we can kind of start to look into, okay, how can we do some sort of hybrid model? I found like this really cool farm school where it's like 3 days a week. They do 2.5 hours of academics and then they do project-based learning. So there's a ton out there that I just want to encourage you that like, if you're feeling like something's not right and you want something different, whether that's the way that you're schooling, in a relationship, any of it, like I understand change is scary, but also think long term. Think about what's on the other side of that change and the potential that you can create. And like, I just think about that. I'm a long-term thinker, which is why like when I'm advising in business, I'm like, that's a short-term strategy that's going to burn you out. Like that's a tactic that might work for right now. Like I've worked with even some, like, I don't coach a lot of coaches, honestly, which is funny because that's like a whole thing. But I do love coaching coaches because I think the coaching industry is amazing. But I've had these coaches come to me that are like doing like just this like mass like cold outreach, and they're like, it's not working anymore. And I'm like, okay, like what about your email? Like, what are we doing? And it's like, you peel back the layers and they are not running like, I don't want to say they're not running legit businesses because that doesn't sound nice, but like there's infrastructure issues, right? That people are just not building with the long-term in mind. And as somebody who's been an entrepreneur for 15 years, that's just the way that I think. So it's the same thing when it comes to schooling for my children of like, I kind of am like, I don't, like, why are you guys there 7 hours a day? And why are we doing 15 minutes of recess? And like, it's just doesn't work for us, right? So that's the change that we're making and why we're making it. We want the freedom, the flexibility. There is a ton of options. And on the business side of things, it's like a lot of people are asking me, okay, how are you going to do this and run your business? Well, it's my business. You know what I mean? Like, isn't it funny though, that that's the way that we think of like, I would love to do that, but I can't because, and it's like, that because, whatever your because is, especially as an entrepreneur, that's your choice, right? Like for us, people may look at it and they're like, well, you guys can do that because you guys are both entrepreneurs. Yeah, but that we chose that. And we chose all the hard that comes with it, right? And so for you in running your business and thinking about like, okay, I would love to do, like, that tells me that the question that you should be asking is, what infrastructure, what business model do I need to have to be able to have the life that I want? And if that life includes homeschooling or travel or whatever it is, then you need to start thinking again, bigger picture of like, okay, a lot of us are starting these businesses because we have a skill set and then we're like, okay, I can earn more if I do this myself. And then we're never going back to observe and question that and be like, wait, this isn't working for me anymore. I'm working all the time. I don't see my family. And then we're telling ourselves the lie of like, okay, after I'm making 7 figures a year, and then it's 8 figures, whatever things that we're telling ourselves to be like, after this point, then I can reevaluate, or then I can stop doing that, or then I can do something different. And it's like, well, how many times are we going to tell ourselves that? You know what I mean? To where it's just like, at this point, the question that we should be asking is, why is my business not set up for me to be able to have the freedom of choice to do something that I want? When people are like, I would love to, start piano lessons, or I would love to, go to Pilates in the middle of the day. Okay, it's your business. So why aren't you setting your schedule up to do that? You know what I mean? And underneath that is a ton of fear about like, well, what will happen and what will people think? And what about my clients and all that? And it's like, what if it's both, right? Like, what if you had a business that actually really supported both financially and in the way that you wanted to live, because that's what our businesses are for. But we lose sight of that again because we're being short-sighted. So that's the other big change is we're moving. When we move, we will have some sort of non-traditional schooling for our children. And those things are huge for us. And I think that being able to figure it out, bringing you guys along with me of like, people are asking me what curriculum. I'm like, I'm not even there yet. I'll tell you when I get there. But that's what's ahead for us, right? In addition to that, I have City Girls. So when this episode airs, we will have done Sarasota. Charlotte is up next for us, which those tickets have been selling, which is incredible. And, bringing these opportunities to bring people closer together. I've always loved running retreats and seeing the transformation that occurs both tangibly for people with getting new collaborations and partnerships and being able to refer each other business. And, like one of my clients getting $100,000 contract, it's like that stuff is so cool to me, of just being the connector for people. And so I'm really like digging deeper into that, as well as just creating this in-person experience that gets to be both a business scaling workshop to where you're getting direct guidance and getting to mastermind and getting to hear not just from me, but other women who are doing the damn thing. And I think it's a really cool model that I've already seen some people like start to copy. And you're seeing this shift of like, even people that are running bigger events are starting to run like off. They're doing like their big events, but now they're starting to have some of these smaller events. And I predicted that, which is why I created this, is like people are craving that like in-person deep connection, like one-to-one or small group conversation to really get behind the scenes of what is happening, to really build those relationships with people, because it's so cool to be able to have those conversations and get to know people on a deeper level. And then it's so lucrative for your business to be able to do that, because it's so easy to refer people to people that we love. So we have City Girls coming. We also shifted my Instagram. So I'll talk about that for just a second here. So this is going to sound so funny, but my original Instagram, I was so attached to, and I still have it. It is the podcast Instagram. So we still have it to help promote the podcast and make sure that we're giving you guys the opportunity to listen. I'm posting some stuff in stories here and there, but like if you're not following my new page, we finally got my handle back to Kelsey Kenry. So it's the original, just my name over on a new page. And I finally shifted that account because the reality is that I have pivoted on my Instagram page. And this is like stuff that nobody would tell you, but like I've pivoted so many times on that page, starting in fitness and sharing, like it was like my journal. And that's how I really built my following, was like just sharing the stories of like what I was experiencing, and like competing in figure and competing in powerlifting, and then becoming a mom, and then going through my life coaching certification and building all these businesses, and then like talking about the businesses, and then obviously that evolving into advising and coaching for businesses. And it's like, I don't think the algorithm liked that. I think it was like, lady, what's happening? And so it's interesting to see. And like, when you make a choice and you start to instantly get validation and confirmation of like, the engagement has been so much better on an account. I think I have like 400 followers on my new account at this point. So if you're not following me, please follow me on my new account. But also, it's just like, I love to talk to people. I love opening up Instagram. My DMs are just full of questions and conversation and all those things, because it's a social platform. And so when my engagement started to fall, I'm like, oh, this feels kind of shitty. Not just because of the business aspect of it, of like putting money into marketing and then having that marketing not create the engagement that you want, but also realizing that like, I love people. I love people. I will talk to anybody and everybody. I definitely got that from my dad. It was hilarious. He came with me to look at some houses in Texas, and he's just like telling all of his jokes to my realtor and stuff. And I'm like, this man, this is where I got it from. Anyway, so I'm glad that we made that shift. It is a scary shift when you have like almost 18,000 followers and people look at those vanity metrics, right? People are like, "Oh, they must be legit because they have this many followers." But it's like, I know who I am. I know that I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and if somebody like looks at my page and sees like, oh, she has 400 followers and doesn't want to hire me because of that, like, please. You know what I mean? So anyways, it's just like, again, another thing of like, just do the scary thing. I was so afraid to switch accounts because I was so like the fear of loss, right? What about the people that like don't follow me on my new page? And it's like, well, they're lost, because I have committed to, I shared this on Instagram, but I've committed to on my new page. I love AI. I think AI is a really helpful tool. But I think when it comes to marketing, people have become so dependent on it that it's kind of giving like the ick. Like there's so much stuff that I just don't even read or engage with because I'm like, this isn't even from a human. And we've used ChatGPT, and I've had marketing people use ChatGPT, but I think the issue is like the origin needs to be you, right? And so like losing my voice, losing like my teachings, I don't want that to happen. So I've committed on my new Instagram, like we're not using AI at all. Like it's me. And that feels like a lot to commit to that, but it also feels like, okay, I have to stay the origin of this because that's the way that I teach, and it's very personalized and it's very story based, and it's very, here's my experience, whether it's me or with a client, and here's what happened and here's how we solved it. So we took the plunge there, and we now have the new account, and it feels good and it feels right. And it feels like there's just a lot of new beginnings, which is so interesting. That's also like the year of the fire horse or whatever, which apparently we're all just going to kill it this year. So let's just accept that and receive that and let that be true. So that is another change. We also are in the midst of like some team changes. What I will tell you guys is I think in my business and in a lot of businesses, marketing is the hardest hire. And I think for me, because my voice gets lost and because different people, especially like if there's an agency model or whatever the model is, I think that it's really hard for people to truly grasp my voice and my teachings. Or I haven't yet experienced a marketing team that delivered content that I loved, if I'm being honest. And I'm very picky. I'm very particular. I am really good at messaging and marketing. And I think sometimes that works against me because I wish I could just be like, sure, looks great, no changes. It would save me a lot of like review time. But that is a change that we are currently in. And one of the things that I always advise people to do is like never hire from a place of overwhelm or like a lack of clarity. So I'm using this space and time to really think about, okay, what do I need? And what does that look like? Because a lot of times, if I'm being honest, I think that I have to like create things that haven't been yet created. And I think for me, I'm always questioning like the norm of like, okay, essentially people, when they get busy with their businesses, one of the first things that people want to hand off is marketing. And I understand because it can be really time consuming. But then people invest a lot of money. And then when they break down the data, they're not seeing the return on that investment. And when I look at like where my clientele comes from, a lot of times when it comes from marketing, it is generally like things that I've done, right? Whether that's me recording an off the cuff, like reel, my writing, like, and so that is where it's like, okay, how do we duplicate me to be able to bring that into marketing more? Anyways, I don't want to go on a long tangent about this, but the point of this and why I'm sharing this with you is again on the topic of like, don't settle, right? Like we're moving to Texas because we don't want to settle. We're bringing our kids into non-traditional schooling because we don't want to settle. I started a new Instagram page because I was done settling. I let go of somebody on my team because I didn't want to settle. And I think that as women, a lot of times we are almost punished for like asking for what we really want. And we wait too long to make changes because it feels scary. And we gaslight ourselves and we're like, well, maybe it's my fault. And maybe, maybe I need to do this better. And a lot of times we do. A lot of times we do need to do things better, right? Especially as leaders. But I also really want you to think about like where in your life, in your business, are you just settling? What are you accepting as normal in your life right now that you're like, this is actually causing me some frustration, some resentment? Like, what is that for you? Because we all have it. And what are you going to do about it? Because it's not going to change. It's not going to change. And like we keep thinking, well, maybe after this, then it will feel different. Maybe after this launch, maybe after I shift this one thing, maybe. And I'm like, no. Like you have blind spots that you can't see, and you need accountability through change, which is why when I come in with clients, my whole thing is like, okay, let's look at current status. Let me analyze, let me assess everything that is true right now about everything under the hood of your business, your team structure, the people that you have in the roles, what their strengths and weaknesses are, right? Like your people, your pricing, what does your offer suite look like? Are you profitable? Like we have to peel these things apart. And then your processes, like those three things within your infrastructure, if they are not functioning correctly, you don't even have the space to make these kinds of decisions that I'm talking about for your life. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they have built businesses that trap them. They have built, and I've been there, right? Like I have been the person that did 800 million coaching calls, especially as somebody who delivers in primarily one-to-one. And so what I want to tell you is that like, it is safe and okay for you to say, you know what? I'm bringing somebody in to help me fix this because I desire something different, something better. I want to keep growing. I want to have the right infrastructure to support scale, but I can't do it like this anymore. This doesn't feel good in my body. It doesn't feel good in my relationships. I'm having a lot of turnover, like whatever the issues or all of the above that you're experiencing. I want you to know that like that is an infrastructure issue that can be fixed. And if we don't start looking at the business models that we're running and start to question, just like I'm questioning marketing, I'm like, I don't think that what I need for marketing is currently a thing. So I need to figure out, what is this unicorn that I'm looking for? What exactly are they doing? What is the personality? What characteristics do they hold? What sort of processes do we need to transfer my voice? And then I can make that move. But like you settling in your business, especially if you're settling because you're like, well, I make a lot of money, that's great. I love that for you. And I want you to keep doing that. But also if you're dying inside, if everything around you is crumbling, it's not worth it, right? Like the number of women, I was on a call with a group that I'm in, and that one of the women was talking about how she, like, this was the year that she was going to change her business because her husband has brought up the topic of divorce twice. And like 3 other women in there were like, I feel this. And I'm like, holy shit. Like we have to change the way that we are doing business. We have to, like, I understand exactly where people are. They get stuck in like, okay, I'm in this model. I have to deliver. I got to keep my foot on the gas to provide for my family and provide the lifestyle that I want. And so it feels like you're taking your foot off the gas. But this is why you just hire me to fix it. Like, I can't say that in a more clear way, but like coming in and me assessing your business, being able to say as an expert of 15 years running multiple businesses, working in multiple industries, coming in and saying like, this is what we need to fix in your team structure. These are your processes that are costing all this time and money. And this is what your offer suite needs to look like so that you can earn more and work less, is the biggest relief of all time. And so honestly, like if you've ever been on the fence about hiring me, working together, I'm happy to send you a million different testimonials, but like I want you to have the freedom and flexibility to enjoy your life. And I want you to feel really fucking proud of your business and how profitable it is and how you're killing it and how you're impacting people. I want it to be both. And I don't want you to settle. I don't want you to settle in any area of your life. So I know that this episode today was not the norm, but again, I just wanted to bring you guys behind the scenes of like, I'm experiencing a lot of change right now. And what is anchoring me and being able to facilitate this change is honestly my tools and the infrastructure of my business, because I have set up my team, my delivery model, everything in my business to be able to make decisions about, okay, I need to go to Texas for 2 days and look at houses. Okay, I need to be able to actually do some research on what homeschooling looks like. Okay, I need to get my house ready to sell. right? And in all of this, I'm able to work out every single morning because I'm setting up my schedule to where I have that time for myself. I have workouts, I have meditation, I have journaling, because that is how my central nervous system, I'm like, okay, this is a lot. There's a lot on my plate with events, with solving client problems all day, right? With moving my family. And so how am I refilling and refueling? And those are the ways that I'm doing that. And a lot of times we're not giving our business is not set up to give us that space or time. So I hope that you guys enjoyed just hearing me talk about like why we're making changes and what things look like. And once again, like if you are running a business right now and you just recognize this doesn't feel good and like something's got to change, you might even know what needs to change, but maybe you just feel like I don't have the balls to do it. I have the balls to do it. And one thing about me that my clients will tell you is I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to be like, did you have that conversation? Right? Did you do that thing? Because I want the best for you. And like at the root of everything, I wrote this in my journal this morning, actually. At the root of everything that I do, I want you to be a mom, a present mom for your kids. I want you to feel proud of your motherhood. I want you to feel proud of your marriage. And I want you to feel proud of your business. And I want you to feel proud of yourself. And I don't want you to settle for one of those areas to where you're like, okay, I'm really focused on the business, so I'm not being a great mom right now. It might look different. The timing spent in each area is always going to change. But like, why do we feel that way? It's an infrastructure issue and it can be fixed. So what we are going to do is number one, in the show notes below, I'm going to drop the link to City Girls, because if you haven't gotten your tickets to one of our cities yet, you need to grab that now. We are going to be we have 4 more cities all over the US. So that is our dinner and business scaling workshop for specifically established female founders. And then I'm also going to drop my interest form. My interest form is for you if you're like, you know what? I think I want Kelsey to fix my shit. I think I just want her to come in and tell me what to do and how to do it so that this can feel easier and lighter. And so I can run a business that doesn't deplete every part of me and be there for my family and have the time and space to think about the life that I really want to live. You can fill out that interest form. There's no obligation. It's not even an application. It's just to get to know like where you are to see if we're a good fit. So I'm going to drop the link for that for you below. We have different services based upon where you are in your business. And so that's why we ask the questions that we do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I will see you guys next week.